The next thing, which isn't a reason you would or wouldn't have an iPhone, but it is another way for Apple to control the device, is the port that's on the bottom of the phone. So this little guy, which it focuses so you can see, is Lightning. And this little guy, which it's kind of dark so you can't see, but it's USB-C. All right, how close can we get? There we go. So yeah, so size-wise, the ports are pretty close. Looks like the USB-C port is, the USB-C port is a little bigger, but it's a way more functional port. So with Lightning, my first gripe, which I just found out about maybe 2 or 3 years ago, is not the fact that it's USB 2.0, which I've known that all the time. In fact, I thought it was only USB 2.0. I actually found out that one of the first, or I think the first iPad Pro, which also had a Lightning port on it at the time, ran at USB 3.0 speeds. So my question would be, if you can make it run or operate at those speeds, why do you continue to put USB 2.0 ports on the iPhone? I don't know. And that's a question for them to answer. Most people probably don't care, but as a person who does like using a cable to transfer data to and, well, with the iPhone, it's really only data from the phone, another issue with the device. But transferring data between devices is great, and having to do it at USB 2.0 speeds is absolutely horrendous. So, but the gripe is not the speed itself, but the fact that the port is still in existence. One, I'd like to say I'm pretty sure Apple was pretty pivotal on the development of of USB-C in general. So that was an Android device that has a USB-C port on it. But years ago, Apple was doing whatever they were doing, I think, with other companies to help develop USB-C. To my knowledge, and I could be wrong, so don't quote me, but I think they wanted USB-C on the iPhone instead of Lightning, but it wasn't going to be ready in time, so they ended up using Lightning instead, and that's what we have. But it goes to show that it looks like that's what they wanted. Now, in 2022, Lightning is still on the iPhone, and I honestly wouldn't care if, one, Apple wasn't pivotal in USB-C's creation, or if two, which I think is more importantly, the fact that USB-C is almost on all of their other products. So I don't have an iPad, but on all the iPads, except for the base one, I think USB-C is the port to charge it. Here's a MacBook Air, and you can see that there are 2 USB-C ports on that. I think a lot of the Beats products also charge via USB-C, some of the newer ones. The charging cable on, like for your Apple Watch, you have the magnetic side on one end, but the other side is now a USB-C port or cable end on that tip. It's USB-C is popping up all through a bunch of their other products, but they're continuing to choose to put Lightning on the iPhone. And of course, they make a lot of money off of selling Lightning cables. It's less retooling they'd have to do to put a Lightning port on a phone compared to USB-C. And I'm sure they'll say, oh, well, the USB-C port is a little bit bigger, so we got to figure out how we're going to fit it in. They can do it. There are a lot of very, very smart people that work at Apple, so using that as an excuse wouldn't be one. I don't know if they're making that excuse. But it all comes down to control. So I wish I had brought it over here, but I have a Lightning cable, and it, of course, it's an Apple one, and Apple makes money when somebody buys a Lightning cable. But if you want to get an Apple cable that doesn't result in you getting one of those little notifications saying that this device or accessory isn't supported, you have to get an MFI cable from a third-party vendor who has gone through Apple when they wanted to make the cable. So essentially, they have to pay Apple royalty fees. So every cable the third parties sell, Apple gets a cut of it. So at the end of the day, every cable that is going to work the way that it should work with an iPhone has to get okayed by Apple. And of course, Apple makes money off of it. So the data speeds are whatever. The fact that USB-C is a better port, definitely should be the reason that it's on the phone. And of course, the control that Apple exhibits over the cable is another way that they can continue to make more money off of the accessories. But I think what really is monumental is the fact that they know right now they can say, oh, these lightning cables have to meet whatever specifications because lightning is our port. So therefore, if you want to make a lightning cable that works with our product, you have to, jump through these hoops. Makes sense. All right. Now, the moment that we start talking about USB-C, it's like, well, wait a minute, Apple. You say that we need to jump through hoops to use this cable that should work on a bunch, or to use the port that's on your phone, but I have cables, and can you see it? Nope, it doesn't reach it. Almost, yeah. So you can't, there it is. So there are a bunch of other cables that are USB-C cables that other vendors make that are high quality cables that you're now going to say, oh, don't work on your iPhone. And I think that's something to think about. Like, in a spreadsheet somewhere, they know exactly how much money they make annually when it comes to selling lightning cables directly themselves, or the amount of revenue they receive through royalties from companies who want to make third-party cables. And they know that they're going to lose a lot of money because trying to justify the fact that you have to buy a specific Apple USB-C cable is going to be something that I hope consumers are going to be like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, this cable charges this is a ThinkPad cable right here. If they're like, yeah, my ThinkPad cable charges my ThinkPad, my Sony Xperia, my Zenfone, my Sony Bluetooth headphones, my Google Pixel, my Pixel Buds, literally any device that has a USB-C port, if it works for that, but you're telling me it doesn't work on my iPhone, I hope if that happened, consumers would be like, no, this is a joke, whatever. And of course, the government would probably get involved. And then the whole point of at least the EU wanting to have all devices use USB-C instead of Lightning would be to try to minimize e-waste. But then if you have to buy a specific USB-C cable for Apple devices, that would only continue to add to the... So yeah, they know that they can't have that same level of control if the port is USB-C. But because of the EU, it looks like that's actually going to change in 2023. iPhone 15. I was mixing the numbers between the year and the model of the iPhone. So 2023, when iOS 17 comes out, but for the iPhone 15, that iPhone might have USB-C on it. So we'll see. But yeah, that's the one more thing to control, where they're like, all right, we need to control. So FaceTime, they've kind of already lost some of it. The Lightning cable is more control. That looks like they're going to lose that. But the last thing, which I think is really, for me, the thing that is the biggest problem, because it wouldn't really cost Apple anything to make the change, is the fact that, one, they haven't opened up iMessage to Android. So if you use the default text messaging app on the iPhone, it's just the Messages app, but built inside of that app is the ability to send regular SMS messages or the option to send iMessages, which of course those go to other iOS devices or Mac OS or iPad OS devices, so other Apple products.